So, I feel like one of the problems in the country, what has happened since at least the Ronald Reagan administration, is his anti-union stance, which unions were one of the things that
Right.
would at one of the institutions in America that actually could push back against neoliberalism and corporatism. And then Bill Clinton with NAFTA actually, cut the legs out from underneath the unions. And so unions have been on the
Yep.
decline and people have been misinformed because corporate
Yes.
media always derides unions and any kind of collectivism. Corporate media doesn't like it. So what don't you think maybe that's a big problem, that we need to educate the public again on the necessity of unions and that unions actually help rise all boats, whereas trickle down economics doesn't?
Right. And, it comes back down to that image and that messaging. We as a party have failed so horrifically since, I mean, you're saying since the Reagan administration, I would even take it a bit further. But regardless, we haven't fought back. We haven't rebranded ourselves. We haven't given our voice any credence. We don't even have control over our own narrative. Since when did the GOP become the party of patriotism and all things good in the world? Especially when their policies are the exact opposite. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it not to brush over the fact, but it all comes down to that integrity. We can talk about all these different strategies, plans, how to reach people, how to do this and that and the other. But if we don't have the trust to begin with, it's all a moot point. That's why when I talk at the forums and my own platforms, I don't emphasize what I'm going to do, what I think needs to be done, because it's a moot point if we don't get people back on board. And if we can't get people back on board, I could have the cure to cancer. If nobody's listening to it, it doesn't matter. And so, to your point, yes, we do need a re-education strategy. We need a communication strategy, and that means we need a presence. We just don't have one. And you union workers now, like the coal mining industry, who just fell right into the propaganda and rhetoric of the Trump administration, right? When he was going, rah, 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 I'm going to rebuild coal. He hasn't. And in fact, he's made it worse for them. And now they're regretting their vote. If we had been able to convey to them succinctly, in their words, what we're trying to do, we're trying to go forward with clean energy initiatives, yes, but we're going to transition the coal industry or something other than saying, yeah, we're going to close down coal mines. Anything other than that would have been
I agree.
a better.
Yeah. What I said a lot is that you can't fight something with nothing. And what they tried to fight Trump with was nothing. They had
Yes.
Republican-like policies. They couldn't even stand up for a $15 minimum wage. They couldn't even come out
Right.
against the TPP. They hand a victory to Trump. He walks in, and the first week he repeals the TPP. Well, everybody, and Chuck Schumer says, well, it was dead already. Well, then why didn't Barack Obama kill it on his way out of the door? Why did he hand a goddamn gift and a victory to Donald Trump on his first week? So to me, that's the problem with the Democratic Party, is that they're not really Democrats. They're only Democrats in name. And as Thomas Frank says in Listen Liberal, those people who are still playing the Democrat-Republican game are engaging in an antiquated ritual that hasn't made sense since the 1980s. And that's the real problem, because we elected Barack Obama
Yeah.
for hope and change, and we got change on the outside and continuity on the inside. He took George Bush's defense secretary, put him right in his cabinet, right? He didn't clean the swamp. He brought in Wall Street right in his Timothy Geithner, Larry Summers, Rubin, all the guys. They did all the same shit they've always been doing, and nothing has changed, right? So Barack Obama is Mitt Romney with a D in front of his name. That we got Romney care, even when the Democrats controlled every branch of government and had a filibuster-proof Senate. So what did they give us? They gave us a goddamn right-wing health care plan. So my point is, what is there to save in the Democratic Party?
So, to your point, and you know what? Bravo. You're saying it with much more poise and information than I do, and I love it. And the thing is, the Democratic Party, it isn't so much that the Democratic Party is redeemable in the way it currently exists. It isn't. The Democrats who claim to be Democrats aren't Democrats. They don't care about people, or at least if they do, they don't show it through their actions in Washington. But it goes back down to, it is an existing platform. You said you can't fight something with nothing. Well, right now, if the Democratic Party falls, the Justice Dems, the Progressive Movement, the Bernie-crats, they're all separate entities that are vying for the same slice of the pie. Even though they're on the same team, they don't realize it sometimes. Sometimes it looks like they're conflicting against another because they want to be the hero. They want to be the next party of the people. which is all well and good. But that's not where we are right now. Right now, we are at the point where we have to fight back at the Republicans before we turn into Hitler's Third Reich. So it's not so much that the Democratic Party is redeemable, it's we have to rebuild it, we have to take it over. And in order to do that, we have to completely revamp it. We have to have open communication. We need to have centralized communication so that the flow goes from bottom up and top down. We need to actually have a listing, a directory of who the hell these people are. You go ahead and go to Democrats.org and try and find the DNC members listing. I'll wait.
So
Wait.
So that leads that leads me right to another question. How does this work? So for people who don't know, Samuel, can you please explain to them what the DNC chair election entails? Who votes and when?
Oh, I would be delighted to answer that one, Jimmy. So this was a rude awakening to me too. Apparently, the Democratic Party, despite having unprecedented power as a chairman, you can pretty much do whatever the hell you want. That's essentially how it works. Has not learned its mistake. Let's just use superdelegates, and I'm getting to your question. I need to paint this picture. Superdelegates had as much weight in the primary decision as 25% of the entire voting population. That means they held the same weight as tens of millions of people. Well, to elect the next chairman, it's the same thing, except it's the DNC members. They're essentially the superdelegates, except we don't even get a voice. We don't even get a slice of the pie, the percentage. And each of those DNC members, each of their votes carries the weight of about 150,000 people. So you have these future forums, which are public, open, and they're really fun. They're a blast. You get food, water, drinks. You see the nurses union. They're singing and dancing. We are for Keith. Whatever. It's a good time, but it's a lie. It is purely this premise that you have a say in what happens next. You don't. People do not. I don't. You don't. Nobody who's probably watching does. And that's the problem. And people don't realize that, and because it's being advertised in such a way as people are being misled. So same game, same antics, same politics. They're not learning their lesson. And I seem to be the only asshole up there saying, hello, do you want to be destroyed? Because I don't think they really understand that Bernie-crats, Dem exit, that our revolution, all these hashtags, like that is real life. There are more people ready to burn this mother down than there are to get back in line. And they don't get that. That's exactly why I'm saying what I'm saying. Not because I'm pandering, but because I believe it, because apparently I'm the only one smart enough to see it, or the only one logical enough to see it. And it's stupid. Why are all these professional, credentialed, big, long resume, 30-year veterans in politics so stupid and naive? Clearly, the way things have been, money. The way things are, the time, we already have the best and the brightest, so to speak, power in office. Clearly, they haven't been living up to it. So I guess it's time for an angry 27-year-old veteran to come in there and clean house.
I hope you do. I don't. It's quite a challenge. Just the fact what you just explained to us, that again, it's a handful of insiders that get to vote for the DNC. Is that an accurate way to put it, Sam?
Actually, what's even worse about that? The insiders, you're correct about that, but those DNC members are elected by their state parties as well. So it's an internal election within an internal election to choose the fate of the party, which ultimately decides the fate of this nation. And I don't think people get that. And I am definitely going to hit that point home this Saturday, because whomsoever leads the DNC leads the United States of America. And I say that because if the DNC falls, the Republican administration, led by Trump, led by Steve Bannon, led by Sean Spicer, led by Kellyanne Conway, all these people will have unprecedented, unmitigated, unopposed power if the Democrats fall. And yes, we will resist them, but it will be squashed because we're not strong enough, not united enough to stand against it as of right now. It's unite the party again.
It's kind of sounds like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So even the people who you admitted torpedoed the progressive in the race, and by
You're right.
doing so, torpedoed the workers, their base, the blue collar workers. That's what they really did when they screwed over Bernie. Because as Kshama Sawant makes the point that when the Democratic Party got in bed with Wall Street, you can't now be in bed with Wall Street and represent their interests and also represent workers, because Wall Street's interests are diametrically opposed to workers. So you can't serve those two things. Wall Street wants to take good jobs, turn them into shitty jobs, and ship them to more desperate poor people in poorer countries, whereas workers want the exact opposite, right? So I don't see how you can do both. So you're saying that now, because of Trump, we all have to come together, which I agree, but we have to come together in a different way. We can't come together where the corporatists who screwed over Bernie are still in control. I have to have Debbie Wasserman Schultz ask for our forgiveness. I have to ask Donna Brazil to ask for our forgiveness, or else get the fuck out of here, because I don't need a corrupt person like you who screws over half your own goddamn party to try to be part of the solution. You're part of the problem. You're why we have Donald Trump. You undermine Bernie Sanders and the young people and the workers, and everybody knows it now. So go away or reform yourself. I'm not going to be part of a party, Sam, and I'm not going to encourage my listeners or followers to be part of a party that props up people like Donna Brazil and Debbie Wasserman Schultz without making them come to heel.
And see, that right there, that vitriol, that anger, that passion, that is exactly what I'm talking about. When I mean we have to hold our own people accountable, and that is absolutely right. As the chairman, as just Democrats, we have to hold our own people accountable. I know now there's a single Democrat who has rubber stamped every single Trump pick because they finally paid attention and didn't, support DeVos. But up until that point, there were, and depending on the news article, correct me if I'm wrong, it was between 4 and 14 Democratic senators who approved every single Trump cabinet pick.
Yeah.
Are you, I guess I'm going to say, are you fucking kidding me? Because how can you call yourself a Democrat and have the best interests of Americans in place when every single Trump cabinet pick is diametrically opposed to what they are being in charge of? It's stupid. And now the Republican Party has actually voted to repeal the Environmental Protection Agency, I believe it was, or was it a different? Yeah, okay. So it's not even a question of if we need to stand together to stop this, it's how. And when I'm saying I'm going to try and reform the party, it's not that I'm going to try by myself. I mean, we are going to be picketing. We are going to be holding our people accountable. I will be putting them in a room if I have to and be like, look, you have a put up or shut up moment right now. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, sorry, you're gone. Like you can't be redeemed, and Donna Brazil, maybe she had her hands tied. Maybe she's redeemable. Maybe she's not. Let the people decide. But all those 14 or those 4 to 14 senators, no. Like, you are going to now put up, or you are no longer to be called Democrats. We will take away your endorsement. We will take away your money. We will take away the support that the party has given you and any sort of platform that you receive for being a Democrat. That is what we are going to do, and that is exactly what I bring to the table. That's probably why nobody's ever heard of me, because I have every intention of doing that.
We're hoping to get we're hoping we can help get your name out there and more people can see it.
And I do want to highlight something. I'm not just the angry millennial who voted for Bernie and is disenfranchised because I didn't get any help running for my state representative thing. That's not what this is about. It's about what you said. If we're going to do it, if we're going to come together again, we have to do it right. And the only right way to do it is holding everybody accountable who has been part of the problem. And if that means cleaning house, then so be it. And if I'm the only one talking about it, if I'm the only idiot up there, the only 27-year-old veteran, millennial, immigrant, what have you, however many titles you want to throw next to my name, then clearly I'm the only one talking about things that need to get done. So clearly I'm the only one capable of leading.
Yeah,
and that's the sad part. That is the absolute sad part, that I am the best leader. Are you kidding me?
So, it takes, I've learned in life, it's a lot more valuable to have courage than intelligence. And that, I'm not saying you're not intelligent. I'm saying that a lot of intelligent people have no courage. So it's good to see people with courage, because intelligence without courage is worthless, as the Democrats have been proving over and over and over. Because I'm sure they've all got. I mean, Barack Obama is a very bright guy, and I'm sure Larry Summers, one of the smartest guys in the world, except they're wrong about everything because money makes up their mind for them. And that's the problem. When you're around the people at the DNC forums, do you feel, is there like a visceral sense of disgust that they have for real progressives? Do you feel that in every moment when you're with them? Because that's how it feels to me, because the liberal class inside the Democratic Party has disdain for progressives. In fact, they'd rather have a Republican win than a progressive, which is what was proven through the WikiLeaks emails, that they would their first order of business was to kill the candidacy of the pro-progressive Bernie Sanders, because he stuck up and he was going to overturn their money train with their corporate donors. So they had to kill him first, and then we'll move on to the Republicans. And my theory is that those people are much more comfortable with a Republican president than a progressive. So I don't even know what my question was about that, but do you agree with that?
I agree that the perception is absolutely there, and their actions definitely speak to those words. Now, are they going to say that to my face? No. And in fact, during that, I even was able to exchange a little bit of words with Keith, and, I got to poke fun at Ray a little bit, got to make fun of him for being old and whatnot. But to your face, they're not going to be like that. Behind closed doors, perhaps. I think for the most part, the energy at these forums, and I haven't been a part of the inner circle, so maybe I'm completely wrong. But as far as the candidates go, they're fine. The DNC members, I can't speak on their behalf, but I do know that the perception is most certainly there, and I've been ignored. Even at those forums, you see these journalists, you see these reporters, all these other supporters, and I'm just sitting there by myself at my table with my few handouts and my stickers, wearing my sweater. Apparently, I'm becoming the Mr. Rogers of politics, but whatever. I think people don't even realize I'm a candidate, because I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I have a suit. I have a really nice suit, actually, a nice blue shirt with a vest, and I look pretty damn good in it, I've been told. But that isn't what we need. We got plenty of suits up there. We got plenty of pantsuits, nice dresses. We have these professional individuals, and they're still failing us. So clearly we need a regular guy to be up there telling it how it is. And you know what? That was proven with Trump getting elected, because he tells it how it is. He might be telling the absolute worst things to ever come out of a human being's mouth that got elected, but he's telling you how it is. Well, so am I, and we're seeing what how that's building over these past few days.
How much does it turn your stomach, or how hard is it for you to not scream when you hear someone at one of these forums, these DNC forums, say something like, "We can't bring a spoon to a knife fight," which to me is the reason why the Democrats lost, because they think money is the winner. Hillary Clinton outspent Donald Trump 2-1, and the Democrats are fucking wiped out from coast to coast, state house, governorships, Congress, Senate, and the White House. They got in bed with big business back in the 90s with Bill Clinton and the DNC. The DLC, and they've been wiped out. The only thing that saved them was Barack Obama's was very popular, and his personality. He had the ability to make people feel good, even though he was implementing right-wing policies like fucking Romney Care. So that's what saved them. What do you think when you hear people like Tom Perez say we have to keep taking corporate money, which is what he says when he says we can't take a spoon to a knife fight?
No, that's absolutely galling, and that brings me right back to the whole weakness thing. If you don't have the spine to stand up and say what's right, you don't have the spine to lead. You don't have the courage, the credibility. You know what? And I think maybe that's probably why I am the best qualified candidate. And I will give a shout out to the only other candidate that I respect on there, and I shouldn't say respect, that might be too harsh. The only other candidate that I think might have a chance at doing it is Pete Buttigieg. I might have said his name wrong. It's really hard to say name, but he's the only other veteran on there. And here's the thing. Veterans have not played a part in politics since Eisenhower. And look at where we are. There's a reason why the military force structure has lasted for so long, and the reason why that camaraderie and that leadership has lasted so long. There's a reason why veterans do so well in the private sector and in the civilian world. It's because we have learned how to be a part of a team. We have learned how to step up, and we know what it takes to lead because we've had good leaders or we've had crappy leaders and said, nah, I am not going to be like that. So everything I'm doing and saying is because I have either seen it from a good leader or I have lived it as a good leader or a good follower. And that is what we need. And the only other person that could possibly come close is Pete. And that's why when they say things like that, the other candidates, it sickens me. And you're right. I do kind of want to scream and shout because it's so obvious.
Yes.
All you have to do is grow a pair.
Yes.
And you will win. You will win hands down. In fact, let me just one more time. I don't know how much time I have left here, but the first time I saw this whole DNC race was in Columbus, Ohio, and I had put my name in the hat already by then. I was actually a part of this since 12/19, but neither here nor there. I went. I was late because I had reserves, but I went and I saw them speak. Back then it was Jamie, Keith, Ray, and I think Victor or something. He's running as vice chair now or something. Anyway, I saw those four speak, and they were talking the talk, but I was thinking and standing there, and I was waiting for them when this question was asked, what are you going to do to bring people back? And I was waiting for them to get up out of their white chairs, their pristine, elevated platform chairs, step off that stage and hand the microphone to somebody. If they had done that then, you wouldn't be talking to me right now because that person would have been the goddamn DNC chair then and there. Nobody's done that. Nobody has taken that step. I haven't, technically physically walked off a stage yet, but I've at least been telling the truth and saying what needs to be said. That's it. That's all it takes. We got to do that.
When you have these forums, do DNC members show up to listen?
That's the funny thing. Apparently, it's very minimal, their involvement or their participation. Yes, they're there. They're in the front rows and whatnot, and they get to ask their questions. But there's maybe a couple dozen that show up out of the 447, which, I get it. Logistically, they all have families and lives and whatnot. But you would think more than a couple dozen would be showing up to each singular event. Maybe that'll be different in Atlanta, but I guess that's something that they have to look for.
So can you tell me what the next events are, how many there are, and when and where?
So there's only two more events coming up. The Baltimore event at the Baltimore Convention Center on this Saturday between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Chairmen speak at 3 and 4, so come and hear me speak. And to that point, I'm trying to establish a very large gathering, rally status, hundreds or thousands of people. So I mean it when I say that. That's how many people I want to show up so we can prove to them that people have a vested interest in this future and that we aren't going away quietly. We are going to be heard one way or the other.
So
but there's only
anybody can come into these meetings who's a Democrat or just anybody?
These are completely public. I think there's an RSVP link, which I can send to you.
Please do.
To put up this. But there's an RSVP link, and then next week or the week after, they'll send out the one for Atlanta. Atlanta is an event, so to speak, but it's when they choose to decide. So whether or not I get a chance to speak, I'm not particularly sure about, but it'll be the 25th is when the voting takes place. And that, let me see. I have that saved here. Let me just pull that up. At Atlanta, it is going to be at the Westin Peachtree Plaza Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia.
And that's on the 25th?
Yeah. There's apparently different things going on, too, from the 23rd as well.
Okay.
Those aren't being as heavily advertised, and some of the things are just meant for DNC members or just for candidates. But the whole program, or the main program, the main event, the voting, is going to be on the 25th. And I already have an organization that works, too, to get a lot of people to show up for that. So if you can make it, if you can show up, or people in Georgia and Baltimore, give them a shout out. Let them know.
Is that the only way for regular Democrats to influence this DNC election? Is there anything else they could do besides show up at these meetings? Yeah.
So the only other option available is to either email your DNC chair member or call them. And as unfortunate as that sounds, not everybody has access to that list. Luckily, I do have access to the list, and I put it on my website, www.ronanfordnc.org. It'll take you to the main splash page, which I think is my 5 key things that we need to work on, and it's at the bottom of that row there. But in either case, you can go there and you can, scroll down to see who your DNC members are, or just go from top to bottom and be like, hey, the People's Choice hashtag is Ronan for DNC. And once I think that flood starts to pick up and go, they'll start realizing, oh, this kid is actually serious. Who is he? Maybe I should look him up. Now, I will ask this. If you are going to contact them through email or phone call or some other means, please be respectful. You don't have to, cuss them out and tell them, you motherfuckers are going to vote for Sam or we're going to burn this shit down. No, please don't do that. But, tell them, look, we've been paying attention and we have a vested interest in the Democratic Party too, because we understand on a pragmatic level that if you guys fall, we fall, and we don't want to fall. So please help us help you and do the right thing. Vote for Samuel Ronan for DNC chair so we can bring us all back into the fold.
Wow. Well, it would be an amazing thing to see someone like you who actually wants to return power to the voters, the workers, the students, the people, and the progressives. It would be amazing to see you get some kind of power inside the Democratic Party to go up against the Chuck Schumers, Nancy Pelosi's. It's just so weird. Nancy Pelosi's worth $40 million, and somehow she's the leader of the fucking People's House. And Chuck Schumer, I explained to people on this show that Chuck Schumer, the reason why he's a leader, even though he wears his glasses like this, which is repellent to most normal human beings, apparently Chuck Schumer doesn't have a friend or a girlfriend or a wife or a brother who could say, Chuck, stop doing this. You look like an asshole. You look like the opposite of a leader. You look like a guy who's going to be led around by his ear. What's the problem with you, you knucklehead? So the reason why Chuck Schumer is elected leader is because he gets the most money from Wall Street and he gives it to his friends in Congress. That's how you get to be elected a leader. Not that you have ideas or that you're an effective legislator or people believe in you or you're inspiring. It's that you get the most corporate money and you suck the biggest corporate teat. So now you can give that money. That's how you become a leader. And that's why the Democrats are a worthless party right now, because their leaders don't lead. Their leaders take money.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're absolutely right. And I know we're trying to wrap up here, but I agree with you. The reason why our politics is so convoluted and disgusting and no longer representative of people is because people aren't represented. That's no longer their driving force. It's the almighty dollar, which is coming from these CEOs who think they're barons and aristocrats. I'm sorry, but the patriarchy, or not the patriarchy, the patrician class of Rome has fallen, and it fell for a reason. This isn't the Roman Senate. This isn't where power is handed from left to right, and people just have to get in line. No, this is America, land of the free. By God, I swore an oath to protect and to defend this Constitution, and I have every intention of doing that. That's why I'm here. I'm sorry, but nobody's stepping up to the plate, and I'm seeing a whole lot of bad things happening, nobody doing about it. So you know what? That does fall on my shoulders to do something with. So thank you.
So thank
you for saying it.
Let me just ask you one parting question. What are your positions that you have the hardest time defending?
Right. So I'll be quite honest. Being military, I have a completely different opinion on gun control and the Second Amendment. I take the Second Amendment to be quite literal. It needs to be well regulated, but that doesn't mean the firearm itself. We deal with tanks, for God's sakes, nuclear weapons. It's not the weapon itself that needs to be controlled. It's the people. We need to have people be held accountable. And I'm not talking Joe Schmo who only has a gun, who's locked and it's in his closet and he does everything right. I'm talking about these idiots who get drunk on the road or go to bars and then start shooting people. I'm talking about the road rage or not controlling your weapon. When 4-year-olds can pick up the gun and shoot you or, God forbid, themselves, that is on you, and you need to be held responsible. And that's not even getting into law enforcement getting away with murder. And that's a whole other discussion, I'm sure, but we need to hold our law enforcement just as accountable with firearm safety as we do our civilians and our military.
Well, that is going to be very controversial. People don't like to go against police at all, it seems, in this country. But listen, Sam, all right, so that's a controversial, would be considered not progressive, that you're pro-Second Amendment. To me, the way I feel about I'm very much for banning guns and rewriting the Second Amendment. But until we do that, I think all the other gun legislation is just nipping around the edges. We could have a 30-round cartridge cartridge or a 12-round. It's just like such little things. To me, we got to do like Australia or don't do anything. And but we can. That's a healthy debate. I don't mind having that. But I appreciate your passion. I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I appreciate your courage to speak clearly about the problems of our political class in America. And I wish you much luck.
Thank you, Jimmy. It was a pleasure to be here, and that's what I'm out here to do.
Okay, buddy.
Tell truth to power.
I'm sure we'll talk again. Take care. Hopefully, we'll see you at one of those. I'm going to try and make it to Baltimore, Atlanta. We'll see. Maybe we can talk to you then again. But take care, Sam, and thanks for picking. We're going to put links underneath to your website, and people can go find out who their DNC person is. They could call, and Sam's making that information available to us. So thank you for that. All right, Sam. Take care, buddy.